Hello guys, welcome to Brandix Reviews, another edition of BXR Mailbag. This one we're going to be doing a part 2 of something that Paul Cage did.
Making sure the birthday pants aren't
No,
like
the birthday pants,
right, we've
done that, that was in the last video. So.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to all the people who sent me birthday messages, it's very much appreciated. But I'd just like to say, I'm not in Topher, I will kill you all if you say that again.
Yeah, don't mention fucking Topher because there is that picture somewhere out there of me,
right, look.
Allegedly.
Okay.
It's not going to see the light of day. That picture is not going to see the light of day.
Well, now you've got it. Now you've gone and done it because you had to introduce the picture last time, so I've got to show it to people.
You don't have the picture. All right, where is it? Let's see it then.
Well, it is actually here. Right. Well, as you can see here, no photo trickery. You can see the Topher here. I mean, there's that expression. What does that really say? And behind him, of course, is a screeching buggerer.
It isn't how it looks. I love the kind of purple haze that Topher's got going on as well. It's like, what the hell? It's like
that look of shame and pain and...
It wasn't how it looks.
Sure it wasn't.
Bastard! That isn't... I swear that isn't how it looks. I swear to God. But anyway, let's get out of that way. The point of this video is part 2 of a video. I did part 1. It was a mailbag question that Paul Cage sent in about the Batman vs Superman film. If I just to recap, here it is.
I can't believe I've not asked this before. Please tell me in what way, in comic book or movie, can Batman even begin to fight Superman? Even if Batman had a bucket full of kryptonite, Superman could just fly away and return any time he wanted when Batman least expects it. I just can't see how they can even begin to make a fight out of it. In every way, Superman outdoes Batman.
So, I'm going to leave this one to you, this is part 2. I gave my kind of interpretation in the last video. I'm going to leave you to it, so...
yeah, I'm coming from a slightly different angle, so hopefully...
Yeah.
Kind of like you were with the Topher at the sink.
No! Bastard! Right, I'm out of here. I'm not having any part of this. Bastard!
Okay, yes. Back to the question of... How would Batman even hope to fight Superman? And it is a fair question, because when you stack them up against each other... I mean, let's just say, for argument's sake... Batman and Superman don't know each other and they just run into each other on the street and they decide to fight. Could Batman beat up Superman? No. Basically, in absolutely utterly no way could he overpower Superman because Superman has a ridiculous collection of powers. Whereas Batman, as cool as he is just like an ordinary person. Now, last time my co-reviewer went into... the example of The Dark Knight Returns, which was kind of probably the best example of Batman and Superman throwing down in the comics. However, it's also not an ideal example because it is an Elseworld story. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like a what if, like what if this thing happened instead of this? And in this case, it's a case of like, well, what if all the heroes had retired and only Batman was still fighting the good fight and even Superman had sold out? It's a premise that's basically not going to happen. It's even been proven in things like Public Enemy. Even if Lex Luthor got voted president, Superman isn't going to roll over for him. So I'm going to look at the question in a slightly different way. Like, could Batman ever defeat Superman? And, like my co-reviewer pointed out, it's fiction. You could write any scenario in which Batman can win. So there are two ways of looking at it from what I think. You can either look at it from the popularity standpoint. We're actually in last year now when I come to think of it. They brought out a game called Injustice, and ultimately what it was a collection of DC characters in a fighting game, kind of like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, just it was DC characters. And the story behind it was essentially that Superman had gone evil, and Batman was trying to stop him. And they had a bit of a fan vote of like, this character versus this character, who do you think would win? And it did come up the point that in a lot of ways, if you move outside the comic book fans, Batman is probably a lot more popular at the moment than Superman. If you think about it, recently, Superman's had two big films recently. Not counting the Christopher Reeves ones and not counting the original Batman films. We're talking about more recently, kind of Superman Returns at the kind of very end of it. So he's had two films. The first one, it had its moments, but it was a bit of a big budget flop. It was very long. It wasn't a bad film, but a lot of people didn't really take to it. And more recently, you've had Man of Steel. Again, personally a film I like, but a lot of people didn't. It had very mixed reviews. And coming in from the other side, you've got Batman, who's just come off the Dark Knight trilogy, which is massively popular. You can see it up there on the shelf. So, certainly at the moment, probably more people would be rooting for Batman, if that makes sense. So certainly if you came at it from the standpoint of who would have the bigger fan base and who would be the most like people cheering him on, it would actually probably be Batman. Now another way of coming at it is more in the comic book sense of could Batman ever defeat Superman? And the answer is yes. Now Superman has a whole host of powers, which, I mean, in the Silver Age it just got ridiculous. He was getting new powers daily, and he was strong enough to move planets and all kinds of strangeness like that. Even in more recent times, even though they've cut down a lot of Superman's powers, he is still the most powerful super character around that I can think of off the top of my head. However, he isn't invulnerable. He has some well-known weaknesses, the most obvious being kryptonite. People have said, oh, well, you know, if Batman had kryptonite, well, then he'd just be able to take Superman apart. And that's true to an extent. However, kryptonite isn't just this magic off switch that kills all Superman's powers. It's more a process. If somebody walks up to Superman with kryptonite, it weakens him, it causes him pain, but it doesn't just turn off his powers magically. Kind of like you see it sometimes in the films, it's just like, well, there's a bit of kryptonite, he's down for the count. It's not really works that way in the comics. I mean, he fights people like, now what's his name?
Not name remembering, motherfucker.
Is it Metallo, the guy who's got a kryptonite heart?
Yeah.
Yeah, Metallo. Guy literally powered by kryptonite. His chest plate opens and he's got a huge chunk of kryptonite there. Superman fights this guy. If it was as simple as just, oh, I've got kryptonite, he's down, I've won, he'd be very short fights against this character. So kryptonite isn't the Achilles heel that it sometimes comes across as in like films and TV shows. But it would be a big advantage, and it has been established that Batman has access to kryptonite, making it a pretty big like plus in his column. Now, another weakness that it's probably not something that Batman could exploit, but it is something that's not necessarily that well known. All of Superman's powers come from his natural alien biology. It's like a natural source, it's not supernatural. Which actually means he is actually very vulnerable to magic. This is something that's never really come up in any of his films that I can think of. However, in the comic books, say he went up against somebody like Doctor Strange, randomly, like not even the same like comic book universe, but say he went up against somebody like Doctor Strange, that person would have a very high possibility of kicking Superman's ass. So that's one thing he has. Another thing which has come up in the films to a degree, and is also fairly prominent in things like The Death of Superman, is he is solar powered to a degree. That's part of the reason he kind of goes down for the count after fighting Doomsday. I think most of it happens at night or when the sun isn't in play for whatever reason, and it ultimately drains him, it weakens him. If he takes enough punishment when he can't just, you know, stand in the sunlight and recharge himself, he can actually be worn down. Certainly in the movies more than the comic books, they have this image of Superman as invulnerable. like almost impossible. Like, you can hit him, whatever you do to him, he's not going to feel it. In the comic books, it's not really the same case. Superman can be beaten. Say if you threw him up against the Hulk. Again, another silly comparison because they're not even in the same universe. However, in canon, Hulk and Superman have actually fought. Throw him up against somebody like the Hulk. If the Hulk punches Superman, he's going to shrug it off better than pretty much anybody else you can imagine. However, he's still going to feel it. He can still be knocked out. If somebody as strong as the Hulk wailed on Superman, they could knock him out, like, perfectly legitimately. They probably couldn't kill him because he's invulnerable, but you can beat him down. Now, when it comes to a fight between Superman and Batman, the main thing that would come into play is forethought and planning. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, that's not really fair. Superman's, like, really smart. He's a lot smarter than you'd expect him to be. Which is true. However, Superman is essentially a good person at heart. I believe this is something that, again, my co-reviewer brought up last video. That Batman's, like, inner monologue is like, ultimately, I can win this fight because deep down in his heart, Superman is a good person and I'm not. Which isn't entirely fair because Batman's pretty noble in his own way. However, it has been established, and this is in the main comic book continuity, not in an Elseworld story, that Batman has given serious and long thought to how he would take down each and every member of the JLA, possibly even as far as each and every superpowered member of the superhero community. Now, it seems like really morbid and like, what the hell is he playing at, like, when you say it like that? But if you look at it from the standpoint of, he's just a mortal man, he doesn't have any superpowers, he doesn't have any special, magic or a special item like Thor's hammer that he can use. When it comes down to it, all he's got is his brain. And at the heart of it, he is very paranoid. So he has to ask himself, well, if Superman, this like all-powerful alien, ever lost it, who could stop him? I'd have to plan to this contingency of taking him down one of these days. If he ever went too far, or if he went off the deep end. Now, in the JLA story Tower of Babel, this actually came up like quite big time. Somebody managed to hack into the Bat computer and downloaded all the contingency files that Batman had thought up. And using this information, they nearly took out the entire JLA. Now, ultimately, Batman's plan for taking out Superman was a specially modified form of kryptonite. Ultimately, Batman, he does not leave it to chance. He doesn't just think, oh, I've got some green kryptonite, I can wave it under his nose and he's going to go down for a count. He used science and the resources of Wayne Enterprises to create a special brand of kryptonite, kind of a unique synthetic kryptonite, if you like, that could inflict even more damage on Superman even quicker. And it works. It takes Superman down for the count. Ultimately, the JLA rally themselves and manage to win this fight, but it happens. Superman is taken down by this. So when you say, oh, it's not fair, like Batman wouldn't need, why should we give Batman time to prepare? Well, you don't really need to. He's already had time. He's thought about it. He's planned. So hopefully that answers that question in some ways. Like, could he win in a fight against Superman? He could. Could he win in a fight against Superman in this film? Is a little bit more questionable because in the comic books, Superman and Batman have been trusted allies for a very, very long time. Going back decades of comic books, and it's kind of hard to see how that translates into real time sometimes because comic books time can be weird. But they've known each other for decades. They fought alongside each other. Batman knows all Superman's strengths and weaknesses. Now, as the setup seems to be for this film, Batman and Superman seem to be adversarial from the very start. It doesn't seem to be a case of Batman knows all of Superman's strengths and weaknesses, and so I'm not really sure how they're going to do that. Because ultimately, his main advantage is he understands Superman. He knows his strengths, his weaknesses, how to play on them, how to manipulate him. And in this Batman v Superman movie, he's not going to have that advantage. So I hope that answered your question in a slightly rambling way.
I have a bit of a theory about how he's going to fight him, because traditionally kryptonite is seen as being like the green rocks. I know they have different colours as well. Different colours react different ways to people from Krypton.
Green krypton, red kryptonite, even pink kryptonite. And I'm not even making this up. It makes him gay.
Yeah.
This is canon. This isn't us making a joke. It's real.
That's what happened to me when I bumped off at that time. It made me gay. That's what happened.
All right. But that's plausible. We'll let you off.
Well, the point anyway. I think in this interpretation of Superman, because they're not sticking to the usual traditions, like things like having Lois Lane know that Superman is Clark Kent, and she met him, as Clark Kent, but then knew he was Superman. Stuff like that, they fundamentally changed it. I think they're going to do that with kryptonite in this. I think that kryptonite is going to be a metal.
How was
from the
kryptonite
ships.
shown?
It wasn't really in the film.
Yeah, because isn't there something with the atmosphere inside the ship that kind of...
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's going to be the actual metal that was from all that technology is going to be kryptonite, which means that maybe Batman's suit could be made of kryptonite, if that's what they're going for. I don't know for sure, I just kind of interpret it that way.
That would be one way of doing it, and it would make sense. And well, if you basically got Batman in an Iron Man-esque suit made of kryptonite, I could see him taking on Superman in that kind of way.
Yeah, because it's things like that they fundamentally changed. I mean, to us fans of comics and stuff, we kind of want things explained, but if they just explain it very simply to the general movie-going audience, I think that will go a long way to kind of...
Well, it's kind of going back to what you said, like, could Batman beat Superman? Well, it's fiction. You can think of almost any scenario that explains that Batman could beat... I mean, for all you know, this Batman in this universe is a master magician, and that's why you can beat him. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the case, but you can pull it directly out your backside, pretty much.
A bit like I did with Topher in the picture.
No!
Well, that was after the picture was taken, but to be fair. But yeah, so I think that's going to be something that you can come up with any theories. As many theories as there are, there's as many chances that they could do that in the film. We don't know, ultimately. So the film's not even out for like another 11 months yet. It feels like it's closer than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, hopefully this has answered your question. Like, in an Elseworlds environment, Batman took on Superman by outthinking him, by stacking the deck in his favour, the kryptonite arrow, the suit design to help him, like, physically take on Superman. In another Elseworlds kind of scenario, Injustice, Batman masterminded an entire war against Superman. He couldn't take him out physically, but he fought him mentally. He planned, he raised like forces, he took him on that way. In the mainstream continuity, Batman sort of beat Superman, if you look at it in that way, by essentially coming up with like a very ingenious plot using everything he knew about Superman from all the time working together. Ultimately, it wasn't Batman that beat him up because it was somebody using Batman's plan, but
could just as well have been,
Yeah, it might as well have been Batman doing it because it was his plan, even if it was another villain kind of behind that. If you're interested in seeing more in that, and you don't want to track down the Tower of Babel graphic novel, it's also been kind of converted into a animated movie called Doom, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just
JLA Doom.
Good luck finding that in the UK in the video shops, by the way.
You can get it on Amazon Instant.
Yeah, and you can. There are always ways of getting these things. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. But we will not speak of them in case they come after us.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we'll probably just leave it there. I mean,
I think that's wrapped it up. Like I say, I hope that's answered your question. I will kill any motherfucker that calls me Topher, and that photograph is not what it appears to be. I think that's what we've concluded.
For legal reasons, yeah, exactly. So, okay. We'll leave there. We'll
have fun. We'll be back with a review of Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
we're going to see that tomorrow. Hey.
So that should be good. Looking forward to that. And then if you want to see more videos, there's information coming up after this how to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, and so on. So
yeah, we'll have the information right here for you.
Cool. Right. Well, I guess we'll see you next time. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just so you know, for more news, reviews and retrospectives, you can like our page on Facebook, simply called Brand X Reviews. But as well as that, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube via this video. You can also bookmark our website, which is brandxreviews.com, which is pretty much a central hub for everything that I've just mentioned. So check that out and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.